morning everyone, and welcome back to Crazy Bees. So happy to have you back. It is another hot day outside. We are doing a lot of things outside this morning to try to get done before the heat comes again today. I believe we are looking at higher triple digits this week. Let's see what our 10-day forecast. Yeah, today is 104. And we are up to 108, 109 by Monday. And we are in full triple digits at this point. So while I'm out fertilizing peppers, Tom is getting everything ready to put up the sunscreen, the shade, over the whole trellis area and the pepper area. So I'm going to set the tripod up out there, and we have the fan on, so I'm just going to work out there and not try to talk because it's just too noisy. And you'll see what I'm doing. Right now I am using, Tom buys this stuff right here for our peppers. It's Greenway Biotech Pepper and Herb Fertilizer 11-11-40. He really likes this stuff. Our pepper plants are green as can be. They're putting on all kinds of fruit. They look really good. So for 5 gallons, you use, this is a teaspoon I believe, but I'll double check, 2 teaspoons. For my smaller babies, I have a 2.5 gallon water can. And I put about 3/4 of 1 teaspoon in that to do the babies. And depending on the size of the pot, depends on how much water I put into the pot. I fill the pot, but if I feel like that bucket tends to have a bit more dirt in it, then I'll let it soak in and then fill it again. It's per your discretion. But you just don't want to over fertilize, so you just don't want to put more than what the directions say on the bag, because then you can burn your plants, especially this time of year. I mean, they need it because they're so stressed out because of the heat. Hopefully the shade cloth is going to help them a lot with that, and I love what Tom is doing. He's putting up a whole new system for the shade cloth. Better than last year. Last year we had wiring around it, and the mesh kept getting caught on that chicken wire. It was a disaster. This year he's putting up PVC. I'll show you when he's done exactly what he did. But for now, we're gonna get our shoes back on, and we're gonna go out and feed those peppers before it gets too hot. Okay, we are back, and I am so upset with myself. Look at this. Look at this beautiful, beautiful dahlia. And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 heads on this thing. And look at how beautiful it is. Oh my gosh. I was taking down the sunflowers, and the sunflower went right at it, and just, they're hollow on the inside, so they're very fragile. So I totally I'm gonna try putting it in water and see if it'll stay for a little while so I can enjoy it for a little while. It's so beautiful. I mean, look at this thing. I've got more back there, but oh my goodness, I was so looking forward to this. That'll teach me. It's like taking down a tree. You gotta make sure which way it's gonna fall. I just wanted to show you the beauty of this flower. We are back in the kitchen today. We are working on preserving our apples. We have put together a gift box for some family out of town, and I still have all of these apples that I need to deal with, and I have apples in my roaster right here. I'm cooking them down. We are going to make apple leather today. Now when you're doing it in the roaster, you have to be very careful, and you have to keep stirring it and checking on it consistently, because these sidewalls get quite warm. I'm running mine at 250 trying to get it to go down. You can do it longer and it won't get quite so hot, but this is what happens if they hit those sidewalls and you don't turn it enough. You start getting some burn marks on there. So I'll scrape that off and it'll be fine, but I'm trying to get these guys to a mushy consistency, and we're almost there. That went through there pretty easy. At this point, I could probably get started with the next step, but I want to walk you through a couple more things that we're doing. So we'll cover this up for a minute. And we got a million things going on in the kitchen today, so don't mind the messes. I pulled out all of my grapes from the freezer from last year because I was going to do some wine, but I don't like wine. And I found out that I can make fruit leather out of grapes also. So we're going to try grapefruit leather. And with the apples, we are going to do different combinations. I'm going to try, we've got another pan over here that I just started that's got apples in it. So I'm guessing I'm going to have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 to 6 batches of apples, because it takes 4 to 6 cups per batch. So, and I've still got all of these left to do. I'm going to try apple banana, apple strawberry, apple cinnamon, and I think a mixture of apple strawberry banana. Never done this before, so we're going to see how it all turns out. I pray it turns out well, because I don't like my fruit not being great. It's amazing fruit and I don't want to waste it. So hopefully we do this right. Okay, we have got our first batch ready to go. I have 4 cups of pureed apples in here, and they were pretty thick. So then I added bananas. I only put 2 cups of bananas because I didn't want it being overpowered, the apples being overpowered by the bananas, because bananas can do that, especially ripe ones. So I only did 2 cups, but I have a very thick consistency. It's not runny, so if it was runny, I would have added some pectin, and it's a half a teaspoon per 4 cups of pectin that you can use. And there's other things that you can do too. If you want to make it sweeter, you can add sugar, or you can add lemon juice. If it's tart and you want to bring down the tartness, you can add the bananas. But I'm telling you, I am so happy with my apples. I did not put any sugar in this recipe. I did put a little lemon juice just to preserve the color, but you can't really tell. It looks brown. We'll see what it looks like when it's done dehydrating. I'm guessing it'll be the same color, but that's because when you cook down your apples, you lose that clearer color. They just get brown when you're cooking them down. So I'm going to be filling these trays up. I'm going to see how many I get with that 4 cups, and then we already have that other batch on the stove that is ready to go. So with that one, I'm going to be doing the cinnamon, apple cinnamon. And we'll see how that goes. We got that first tray done with the strawberry banana and 4 cups of the pureed apples with the 2 cups of pureed bananas came out to 3 of my trays. I will explain the trays to you in a minute. This is the pureed apples with cinnamon. I'm going to immersion blend this. Let's see here. Okay, I forgot to plug it in. All right, everybody, we are back. I'm very excited. I think this stuff's going to turn out great. The cooking process went great. The seasoning went great, but now we have to wait for the dehydrator, and I'm hoping that it doesn't burn. I'm going to open it up here in a second and show you exactly how I spread that out. We're out in the garage right now because this is where I have my dehydrator. But I wanted to show you how I did my papers. So my LEM, which LEM right here, that's the dehydrator that I have. It carries 10 trays. And I have one tray that doesn't have a, my goodness, I can't even think of what this is, but it's the top to the main tray. So I always use this because then my produce doesn't fall through these big holes in this panel. So what I did is I took parchment paper. Now if you want to be completely organic, you're going to want to go with the brown that's not dyed. I didn't have that on hand. I'm going with what I have, and this is what I have. I had bought it from Costco, and it came in a big roll. So I needed a bunch of parchment, and that's what I bought. So I cut them in squares, and then what you want to do is, if you have masking tape, it's easier if you can tape your sides to the back. I only had blue tape, painter's tape, and it would not stick. And I don't think Scotch tape would work either. So what I did is I just made sure I folded it over, and so then I had that line on my parchment paper, so I knew how far I could go with my puree. And because these things here are smaller than the tray size also, so I couldn't just cut to the size of the main tray. I had to cut to the size of this tray. Now, if you have a dehydrator that has shelves that are edged and you have those silicone pads, that would be ideal. I don't have that, and it's not something I'm just really wanting to purchase right now. If I keep making apple leather or any kind of fruit leather, I will purchase the silicone pads. But right now I just want to see if it's something that I can do that turns out well. So that's how I did the tray. And then after I did the apple banana and the apple cinnamon, I still had just a little bit left over in this one, and I still have some apples in the roasting pot that I had started, but I ran out of tray space, so I'm like, I'm just going to make applesauce out of those, and then I can add that to the other recipes later. But this is the apple cinnamon. Candace absolutely loves applesauce, so it's not going to go to waste. I'm not going to can it. I'm just going to put it in the fridge, and it would last in the fridge for a couple months. So we've got that. My dehydrator is set at 135, and I have it set for 10 hours. You go from 8 to 12 hours on your puree to make it leather. And this is what I did right here. So these aren't hot yet. Oh my gosh, that smells heavenly. Okay, so right here is my edge. You can see that I went in a fair amount. You want to stay away from your edges just in case you get any kind of a runoff. Mine's pretty thick, so I don't see this running. So I did that. I did the main border all the way around. The other thing that you want to do is you want to make your edges about 1/4 inch thick. Try to get it as flat and even as possible, but you always want your edges just a little bit thicker because they can tend to burn because they're going to get the hottest. And so you want it to come in a little bit. You want your edges thicker. And if you have one of those specialty spatulas, that would work even, an offset spatula, that would work even better. I didn't have one of those, so I was just trying to do it with the regular spatula. So hopefully I got it even enough. I did try to keep my edges thicker, but even when I take this out, I'll probably be cutting off that very edge, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'll be checking this tomorrow after 10 hours, see how it goes, but I'll be checking it before I go to work tomorrow morning. I have to leave very early for work, and I will check this and see how it feels. It's supposed to be tacky, but you're not supposed to be able to sink your finger into it. So it's supposed to be firm, but it can be a little bit tacky. We'll see what that looks like in the morning, and then we're going to go from there and see if it's ready. No matter what it does, I'll be dealing with it tomorrow afternoon after I get home from work. Okay, we are back in the kitchen today. We started this project with the apples. I did do one set of the apple leather. It came out okay, but I felt like it was just too crisp. Probably left it in the dehydrator too long and didn't have enough on the plate, on the parchment paper. And I did read things about the parchment where you should do the silicone pads and not the parchment because the parchment tends to wrinkle, and I can testify to that. It does wrinkle, so your leather does not come out nice and smooth. So at some point I will get the silicone pads. Right now I need to use the parchment though. And so today I have to deal with, the apples can wait for a minute. I have to deal with these grapes because I had pulled them out to do those, and I can't leave them sitting in the refrigerator because I pulled them from a frozen state. So I have to get these done. These are the grapes that we had last year from our grapevines, and I had frozen them because I didn't know what to do with all of them. And I had read that you could eat them frozen, you know, put them in your water, and they're very good. Frozen grapes are really good, but I had so many. And so then I was going to make wine, and we're not wine drinkers. So why would I do something that I'm not really going to use? So I decided I'm going to try grape leather. Now I feel like it's going to be juicier. I took this bag and put it in the colander, and now I'm going to put it into the blender. I feel like these are flameless grapes. What are they called? Flame seedless grapes, right? And so they don't have seeds in them, so I don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to cook them down when you're doing leather, from what I'm finding. And I've already destemmed them when I put them in the freezer. So I'm going to blend these up and see just how I want to see how juicy it is, the consistency of it. Because if it is too juicy, I'm going to add pectin, and it's per 2 cups of puree, you add a ½ teaspoon of pectin when you're doing fruit leather, but it's not. It's actually pretty thick. I thought it was going to be way juicy. I don't know, I really like the flavor of the frozen grape. I think I'm going to add something else to that. It seems fairly tart. So I might add applesauce to that to bring down the tartness of it. We're going to try that out and see what it tastes like then. I did it again. I hit record on the camera and I didn't even have the camera turned on. So what I've been doing is I got all those grapes done that I showed you, and I was trying different variations with the flavors. I was trying different flavor combinations. I had Candace and Tom trying out different flavors, and the one that they absolutely did not like at all was the apple, or the grape with the applesauce and some honey. The honey was a no-go on the leather. So then the next one I tried, the next several that I tried was the applesauce that I had made with the apple banana and then the grapes. That was okay. Then I tried the last batch that I did was the grapes with apple cinnamon applesauce that I had made, and then I put a raw banana in there. That really changed the whole flavor. I think if I ever do it again, that's probably what I'll do, is use a whole banana. So I have a full dehydrator. All of those grapes gave me a full dehydrator. I'm really hoping that this turns out better this time. I made the other apple leather, and it looks beautiful, but you can hear it's crunchy. I'm hoping with doing it thicker, I did it at about 1/4 of an inch thick this time. You can see that I had this pretty thin. So I did it thicker. That's probably about 3 cups on that parchment paper. This is good, but it needs to rehydrate in your mouth a little bit. It's pretty chewy. Well, yeah, chewy. It's not soft at all. It's definitely chewy. It's leather. That's why they call it apple leather, but I wanted mine with a little bit of a softer texture, like a fruit roll-up from the grocery store. So I've got 9 trays. I'm going to get those in the dehydrator. I'm going to set that at 135 degrees for 10 hours, and then I'll check it, and if it's still gooey, then we'll have to set more time on it before we go to work tomorrow. So we'll see what this looks like in the morning, and then we'll go from there. Good morning, everybody. We're back at the dehydrator this morning before we go to work, and I wanted to check this. I haven't opened it. I was going to check it with you so we could see together what we still have to do. So here is our, okay, this is still very, very wet. You can see it on my finger. It's not dry yet. So we're gonna put this back in here, and I'll check the other ones just to make sure. Let me see. Now this one is clean. It's coming right off the paper. It's leathery, but it's not really chewy. Even that part is good. Let's see here. Good texture. Mellow flavor. Awesome. Okay, this one can come in. Let's keep going through these. So the ones in the middle tend to dry faster than the ones up top because of where the fan sits. This one's ready. It's a little tacky, but it's not moist. And that's what you want. You want a little tackiness, but it needs to be dry. I'm very happy with these. Okay, this one still needs more time. This one's okay. I'm hoping this one's okay because you can see where it's separated right there. So if I were to dry this one anymore, that would get very hard. But it's ready. And again, it just pulls away from the paper. And you can tell by the darker color too. I'll hold these two up together. And you can tell the darker color on the left side from the right side. This one's not dry, this one is. So you can kind of tell by the color of your taffy, or not your taffy, but your leather also. This one is, you want to make sure that you feel the whole area, because on some of these, some spots are dry and some aren't. Oh, here's a great example. So you can tell that this out here on the outside edge is dry, but on the inside here is still moist. Just from the color variation you can tell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one up on top, since that dries slower. And then we'll put this guy in the center. And then what was up, this one was not quite dry, so we're going to move him up a little bit more. Spread these out a little bit more so they're getting more airflow. Okay, so these guys are ready to go in. I'm happy with this. This is good. And then we're gonna set, I'm just gonna set this timer for 4 hours, and we'll see what it does in 4 hours. I'll check it. I gotta come in and out today, so I'll check it again in 4 hours, because I think that one that's closer to the top, that one was pretty close to done, and I don't want them going over. Okay, we are home from work. We're going to open this up and see if the rest of that fruit leather dried out. And it's been past 4 hours, so it dried for 4 hours, and then it's been sitting in here past that. And it's definitely dry. I think that applesauce makes a huge difference. Just got a little tougher. It's still good, but the applesauce definitely gives it a different texture. Makes it softer, because it has that pectin in it. So I'm going to get these inside and get these rolled up, and I need to start working on the rest of those apples. I'm thinking I've done enough with fruit leather for right now. I think I'm just going to do some applesauce. So I'm going to get those cut up, and I enjoyed that applesauce so much, and I actually had 3 jars in the refrigerator, and I used all of them for this. So I'm guessing that it's going to come in handy for different things that we want to try. So we're going to get going on this, get going on that applesauce, and we'll come back and see how we're doing.